Ladies and gentlemen, today I stand before you to speak about something that society often ignores, something that has been taken lightly for far too long. But I will not ignore it, and neither should you. The topic is straightforward yet profound. Do not waste your sperm. What is sperm? It is not merely a biological substance, it is the essence of life itself. Within it lies the potential to create, to shape the future, to leave a legacy that extends beyond a single lifetime. But in a world consumed by pleasure and instant gratification, this sacred gift is often squandered. A man is not measured by how much pleasure he can extract from life, but by how much discipline he can exercise over his own desires. The world tells you to indulge, to satisfy every craving, to waste what you have on fleeting moments of pleasure. But I tell you today, self-control is the mark of true strength. Pleasure without purpose leads to emptiness. How many young men waste their energy, their focus, their very life force on things that bring no lasting fulfillment? Every time you give in to mindless indulgence, you trade something priceless for something temporary. You weaken your body, dull your mind, and distance yourself from the great calling that was placed upon you. But there is hope. There is always hope. You were not created for waste, you were created for greatness. You were given this power not to throw it away, but to use it wisely, to build families, to create, to lead, to inspire. The world needs men who are not slaves to their desires, but masters of their purpose. Men who do not waste their strength, but channel it into something greater than themselves. So I say to you today, respect the power within you. Do not waste it. Do not trade your future for fleeting moments of pleasure. Rise above the noise of this world and walk the path of discipline, purpose, and legacy. Sperm is not just a biological byproduct, it is the seed of life itself. Within it lies the power to create, to bring forth the next generation, to shape the future in ways beyond our imagination. Every great leader, every scientist, every artist, every person who has ever walked this earth began as a single sperm meeting an egg. That alone should make us pause and consider its significance. Yet in today's world, this power is treated casually, wasted without thought, drained away in moments of fleeting pleasure. But think about this. Something with the potential to create life should not be discarded as if it were meaningless. It is a gift, not just a physical function. It carries within it a purpose, a sacred responsibility. When a man respects what he has been given, he begins to understand that his body is not meant for reckless indulgence, but for something greater. This power is not just about reproduction, it is about legacy. What will you leave behind? What will you build with the strength given to you? A man who squanders his power weakens himself, physically, mentally, and spiritually. He loses his drive, his focus, his ability to lead. But a man who values his strength, who understands that his ability to create is a reflection of something divine, will walk with purpose. He will not waste what he has been given. Instead, he will channel it into something meaningful, something lasting. Creation is not just about bringing life into the world, it is about shaping the world itself. And that begins with respecting the power you hold within you. A man's strength is not found in how much he indulges his desires, but in how much he can control them. In a world that constantly whispers, give in, take more, satisfy yourself, the true mark of greatness is restraint. Anyone can chase after fleeting pleasure, but it takes real discipline to deny temptation and choose a higher path. Self-indulgence promises happiness but delivers emptiness. It tells you that the more you take, the more fulfilled you will be, yet those who live only for pleasure often find themselves restless, unmotivated, and lost. The momentary rush fades, leaving behind a sense of depletion rather than satisfaction. Each indulgence weakens the body, dulls the mind, and clouds the spirit. But self-control is different. It strengthens rather than weakens. It sharpens the mind, builds discipline, and fuels ambition. A man who masters himself becomes unstoppable because he is no longer ruled by his urges. He directs his energy toward purpose, toward building something lasting, toward leaving a mark that is not easily erased. The greatest men in history were not those who gave in to every craving, but those who had the discipline to resist. They understood that wasting their strength on meaningless indulgence would only distract them from their mission. When you have control over yourself, you gain control over your future. You no longer drift through life, dictated by impulses. You take charge, you lead, you rise. To waste your strength on empty pleasure is to give away the very thing that makes you powerful. But to master yourself is to unlock your full potential. The choice is yours. Will you be controlled by your desires, or will you control them? Life is not about chasing momentary pleasure. It is about fulfilling a greater purpose. Pleasure is fleeting. It comes and goes, leaving nothing behind but a brief memory. Purpose, on the other hand, is lasting. It gives direction, meaning, and impact. A man who lives only for pleasure finds himself constantly searching, never satisfied, always needing more. But a man who lives for purpose stands firm, knowing that his efforts build something greater than himself. Pleasure without purpose is like a fire that burns out quickly. It consumes everything in its path but leaves behind only ashes. It may feel good in the moment, but it drains energy, weakens focus, and steals motivation. A man who wastes his strength on indulgence, whether it be in lust, laziness, or addiction, finds himself empty, unable to achieve what he was meant to do. He loses time, he loses discipline, and worst of all, he loses himself. But when a man chooses purpose over pleasure, he transforms. He no longer seeks shallow satisfaction because he is too busy building something real. He wakes up with determination, he moves with intention, and he directs his energy toward things that matter. He understands that true fulfillment does not come from indulgence, but from creation, from discipline, from leaving behind a legacy that outlives him. Every great achievement in history was built by men who sacrificed short-term pleasure for long-term purpose. They did not waste their strength on meaningless indulgence. They harnessed it, controlled it, and directed it towards something greater. That is the difference between those who merely exist and those who truly live. The question is, which one will you choose? 4. When a man gives in to constant indulgence, he may not realize the toll it takes on both his body and mind. At first, it seems harmless. Just a moment of pleasure, a temporary escape. But over time, something begins to change. His energy diminishes, his motivation fades, and his sharpness dulls. What once gave him strength now leaves him weak. What once excited him now feels empty. He becomes sluggish, distracted, and unable to focus on the bigger things in life. The body is not designed for endless indulgence. It is designed for discipline, for growth, for purpose. Every time a man wastes his energy on fleeting pleasure, he robs himself of strength that could be used to build, to create, to lead. His physical endurance drops, his drive weakens, and his ability to push through challenges fades. What once made him powerful now drains him, leaving him feeling tired and unmotivated. But the damage is not just physical, it is mental as well. A man who constantly seeks pleasure loses his edge. His ability to focus decreases, his ambition crumbles, and he struggles to maintain control over his own thoughts. His mind, once clear and sharp, becomes foggy and restless. He finds it harder to stay disciplined, to set goals, to push himself forward. Instead of becoming stronger, he becomes a prisoner to his own impulses. This is why self-control is so important. A man who guards his strength, both physical and mental, becomes unstoppable. He has energy, focus, and a relentless drive to achieve. He is not easily distracted, not easily shaken, not easily drained. Instead of wasting what he has been given, he uses it wisely, investing in things that bring real fulfillment, real purpose, and real success. The choice is simple. Waste your strength or use it to build something that lasts. Every action a man takes carries weight, not just in the physical world, but in the spiritual realm as well. Life is not random, and the energy within us is not meant to be wasted without thought. There is a responsibility that comes with the gift of creation, a duty to honor the body and soul rather than deplete them for temporary pleasure. When a man squanders his strength, he is not just harming himself, he is turning away from the higher calling placed upon him. There is a reason why discipline and restraint are praised in every great spiritual tradition. They are not meant to deny a man joy, but to elevate him beyond his impulses, to make him stronger, wiser, and more in tune with his true purpose. Indulgence weakens not just the body and mind, but also the spirit. It leads to distraction, to emptiness, to a sense of dissatisfaction that no amount of pleasure can truly fill. But when a man respects his energy, when he chooses self-control over self-indulgence, something powerful happens. He becomes more than just his desires. He becomes a man of vision, of clarity, of spiritual strength. He aligns himself with something greater than momentary pleasure, something eternal. He walks with purpose, with confidence, knowing that his actions are building a future, not just for himself, but for those who come after him. Wasting one's strength is not just a personal loss. It is a failure to live up to the full potential that was placed within. Every man has a choice, to live for something higher or to be consumed by fleeting desires. The path of discipline leads to power, fulfillment, and a connection to something greater. The path of indulgence leads to emptiness, regret, and a life without direction. The question is not whether a man has the strength, it is whether he will use it wisely. A man's life is measured not by what he takes, but by what he leaves behind. True success is not found in fleeting pleasure, but in the mark a man leaves on the world. What will be said about you when you are gone? Will you be remembered as someone who wasted his strength on meaningless indulgence, or as someone who built something that lasted? A legacy is not formed in moments of self-indulgence, but in the choices made every single day. The choice to create rather than consume, to build rather than waste, to lead rather than follow shallow desires. Every great man in history understood this. They did not chase pleasure, they chased purpose. They did not waste their energy, they invested it. They did not seek momentary highs, they sought to leave behind something greater than themselves. A father who raises his children with wisdom, a leader who uplifts those around him, a creator who brings ideas to life. These are the men who are remembered. Their strength was not drained by reckless living, it was channeled into something meaningful. But a man who lives only for himself, who indulges in every impulse without thought, leaves behind nothing of value. His days are filled with temporary pleasure, but his years become a blur of wasted potential. He may satisfy his cravings for a moment, but when he looks back, what will he have to show for it? What will be his contribution? What will be his impact? Building a legacy requires discipline. It requires a man to take control of his energy, his focus, his time. It requires him to think beyond the present and consider the future. The greatest men are not those who lived for themselves, but those who sacrificed for something greater. And that is the choice every man must make, whether to live for pleasure or to live for purpose, whether to waste his strength or to use it to build something that will stand long after he is gone. In the end, the choice is clear. A man can either waste his strength on fleeting pleasure or harness it for something greater. He can either give in to indulgence, weakening his body, mind, and spirit, or he can exercise discipline, building a life of purpose, legacy, and fulfillment. The power of creation is not something to be taken lightly. It is a sacred responsibility, a gift meant to be used wisely. A man who masters himself is a man who controls his future. He does not allow his desires to rule him, he rules over them. He does not trade his potential for momentary satisfaction, he invests his energy in things that last. He does not drift through life aimlessly, he walks with direction, knowing that every action shapes his destiny. So I urge you, do not waste what you have been given. Do not throw away your strength for empty pleasures. Instead, rise above the distractions. Take control of your energy and use it to build something meaningful. Live with purpose. Walk with discipline. Leave behind a legacy that will stand the test of time. That is the path of true strength, the path of true fulfillment, and the path of a man who refuses to waste his power.